Well, good morning to our Connections people. Good to be with you once again. We have a wonderful Bible passage, John chapter 1, verses 1 through 14, about which we could talk about for hours, I'm sure. But it starts off very, very simply with single or two-syllable words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And it becomes clear that the Word is referring to Jesus. And part of the mystery of the Trinity comes through this. So Jesus is God. There's only one God, but he was with God or toward God, looking toward God, being face to face with God, so to speak. And this is very hard to understand. Anything you'd like to say about that, Pastor Alex?
Well, we don't want to bury the lead. We hear about this Word that's with God in the beginning from all eternity. And then it's in verse 14 that it's explicit, this Word became flesh and dwells among us, or tabernacles among us. And this Word is Jesus who comes in the flesh. But as we look at this, we see that there's some echoes to the very beginning of the Bible. In the beginning, we can't help but think about the book of Genesis, but it doesn't start with creation like in Genesis 1:1. It starts even before that, in eternity. In the beginning already was that Word. Now, why do you think John wants to use the title of Word to refer to the second person of the Trinity, who we know as Jesus?
Tell us, Pastor Alex.
I'm sorry?
Tell us, Pastor Alex.
Well, it's, as we think of the titles given to Jesus in the Bible, each of these titles tell us something very unique and special. And this is certainly true with the title, the Word. When we think about a word, what does it do? It reveals something. When we want to communicate with others, we speak. And of course, in the Bible, God's words, his speaking is his action. God speaks and all things are created. And that's what we hear, or that's what we see even here at the beginning of John's gospel, that everything was made by the Father through this Word. But this Word is the one that reveals who God is. We have no knowledge of who God is without God revealing that knowledge himself. And he does that not through an angel, not through just a human being, but through his very Son, his Word, who's with him from eternity, the one that's in the heart of God, so to speak, the one who's face to face with God and who has that intimate relationship with the Father, so intimate that he's truly God with the Father. And he comes to be with us, to tabernacle among us, to show us God and to show us what God wants to reveal, his love, his willingness to forgive sins, his desire for us to become his children through this Word made flesh.
So God reveals himself through Jesus. Jesus brings a message, but he also is the message that God brings. He's the light that comes into the darkness of sin, and he's the light that shines. We are introduced to John the Baptist here in verse 6. A man sent from God, his name was John. He's not the light, but he points to the light. He witnesses about the light. And the light is a true one which lights up all men. God sends Jesus, who dies for all people. Not everybody's going to receive forgiveness and life in him, but he dies to pay for everybody's sins. And he comes into his own world, which he created. All things happen through Jesus, so he's part of creation as well. Usually, God the Father is the one who's the Bible refers to as the creator, but Jesus and the Spirit were part of that too. Mm-hmm. And then we've got this where he comes to his own things, and his own people didn't receive him. These things and people that he created, and he's not even welcomed by them. He's not received. Then, as you've already talked about, Pastor Alex, the Word became flesh. This is very appropriate as we're ready to celebrate Christmas. This is what this is talking about, that Jesus becomes one of us. He tents among us, tabernacles amongst us, here for a temporary while, but here as God himself, as the one who comes in the tabernacle, where he is, there's God's presence, and he comes to be with us and fill all grace and truth. So you guys ought to have a good time studying this together today. There's so much here and much more we could talk about, but I think our time is about up for this. Have a good time. God bless.
God bless.